My fiance and I have been together for almost 2 years. We did long-distance relationship for a year, and I moved to be with him 7 months ago. Now, throughout our relationship, my fiance's ex, Amy, she had broken up with him a few months prior, and they had dated on and off for a year. Had taken it upon herself to contact him multiple times. The first time was early on, trying to get him back. Second time, her friends wanted to make t-shirts saying, Team Amy, in an effort to seclude me from the fiance's life and they get back together. And the third time was a message saying that she hopes he's happy and that her thoughts and doubts don't matter. During each of these instances, I was on the East Coast and not near my fiance, but he let me know and did not respond to his ex. However, by the third instance, I was tired of constantly dealing with this. I asked my fiance to block her off all platforms, which he did. Took a lot of courage to ask that of him. To make matters more unlucky, my future sister-in-law is best friends with his ex. They refer to themselves as sisters often. So I will forever be dealing with this woman. After my fiance received the third message and he blocked her, a week later I fly to him for the weekend and we go to a football game. We run into my future sister-in-law and future brother-in-law. They had extra tickets and wanted us to sit with them. We were very excited to sit with them, and it wasn't until we were at the gate that my future sister-in-law said that my fiance's ex would also be sitting with us. I was floored and felt ambushed to be nice to someone I could not stand. 20 minutes into the game, I left, but eventually came back a half hour before the game ended. Since then, I have spoken very outwardly to my fiance about my dislike for the ex, and have questioned the motives of why my future sister-in-law left that information out until last minute for that event. A month into me moving here, future sister-in-law invited us to her child's birthday party. I saw on the invite list that the ex was also attending. I texted her and explained that I was uncomfortable being around the ex and would not be attending the birthday party. It was a long, heartfelt text trying to talk to her about it. My future sister-in-law didn't reply until later in the day on a group chat with the entire family, calling me selfish and vindictive to try to cut out her best friend. I immediately called her and was furious, but still tried to be respectful of her, even though she took the approach of involving everyone in the family when I attempted to talk to her privately. Somehow, this call ended with me on the phone with the ex. I was ready to pack my bags, get on a plane, and leave this hick Jerry Springer episode. I told my fiance how upset I was over all of this, and he didn't attempt to step in at all, while his sister-in-law verbally gut-punched me. In the end, I gave in and went to this birthday party begrudgingly and left early. Made my appearance and now I'm gone. Now, fast forward 6 months in. I now work at a job where the ex's friend works. I'm on a fantasy football team with the ex and have to see the ex at parties. Needless to say, I'm exhausted. I'm so tired of dealing with all of this and my fiance and I fighting about it. Last night, he had a notification on his phone and I checked it. Nothing unusual for us to do to each other's phones. And I see he's friends with his ex's family members. My demeanor immediately changed after seeing it. He said he'd delete them, and I said do whatever you want. I'm tired of seeing your ex in my life, and my fiance and I got into another fight. I'm not sure what to do. The ex will always be in my life, it seems. I'm ready to give up and just go home. We slept in separate rooms last night, and supposed to get married in 2 weeks. I wanted to get some opinions on whether I'm overreacting, or is this somewhat of normal reaction for this situation? If your fiancé cannot stand up for you now, he never will. He should have left that ball game with you and should not be entertaining this. Chances are he's enjoying the attention. There's no way I could go through with that wedding. Look, your fiancé needs to step up and tell his family and friends that they need to respect y'all's relationship and deal with Amy on their own time, not around him or you. If he's not willing to stand up for you on this, maybe he's not ready to be your husband. You don't have to go the rest of your life with Amy in it. And I would stay the hell away from that sneaky future sister-in-law too. She dated your fiancé on and off for a year, then spent the last 2 years actively working to sabotage his relationship to the point where her friends and his family are involved. Instead of getting a restraining order against the chick who made t-shirts for all her friends about her former boyfriend, he's totally cool, and they're friends with each other's families. I bet if you get married, she'll have a spare key to your house and change her last name to his. Edit to ask. Did she get invited to your wedding, or is she just someone's plus one? My brother and his wife have never planned a single pregnancy. My brother is uneducated and can't support his family on what he makes. He's on his work insurance and his wife and kids are on Medicaid. They have twin daughters who are 5 and a boy who is 4. Now they are pregnant again, unplanned, with a rare form of twins. The pregnancy is high risk, and my sister-in-law will have to go into the hospital an hour away from her family at 20 weeks until they're ready to take the babies at 32 weeks. My sister-in-law's mother and stepfather are, in my opinion, white trash. Both nurses, yet claim they never have money and barely ever have time to babysit. Meanwhile, my parents have watched the kids weekly and overnight almost every weekend since they were born. My parents bought my brother and sister-in-law a used van last year after months of allowing my sister-in-law to use my mother's car while my mother and father shared his leased car because sister-in-law and brother didn't take care of their SUV and it caught fire on a major road, with all 3 children in it along with sister-in-law. My mom had to leave her work to pick them up. While sister-in-law was borrowing my mom's car, she locked her keys inside the car 7 times over a 4-month period. I have never done this myself in my entire life, nor have my parents or my husband. Recently, my sister-in-law crashed the used van my parents bought for them into a tree at a house she brought all 3 kids to see. A house for sale that she and my brother want, even though they can't afford to even fix the problems in their own home. The glass shattered on the back door, and it was dented horribly. The door has to be replaced. My parents, who kept the van in their name, have to suffer their car insurance rates going up. My husband and I love those kids, but they are being ruined by my brother and his wife. The oldest, by 1 minute, twin, is the best behaved one, yet my brother and sister-in-law are hardest on her. We were in a restaurant once, and the younger twin was eating sugar from sugar packets. Her mother watched as if it was adorable. Then the older twin wanted to do it too. My sister-in-law literally grabbed her hand mid-air as it shot towards the sugar and yelled at her, "No, no!" The twin insisted, "I won't eat it, Mommy. I just want to get one." But her mom kept yelling at her. Later on in the evening, the younger twin, who knows how to work everyone with her tears, started crying and screaming because her mom had promised they'd get snow cones, but was now telling her they couldn't anymore because the place was closed. The entire restaurant stared at our table. My sister-in-law didn't do anything, just kept saying, "Stop crying, stop it." And my husband offered to take her outside, and then I suggested she take her outside, but she did nothing. Finally, when the twin quieted down, my grandmother looked at my sister-in-law and said, "You baby her too much. You let her do whatever she wants, but scold her sister for wanting to do those things too. She is babied too much." Sister-in-law was pissed and turned away from my grandmother after that. The next day, the kids came over to swim in my parents' blow-up pool. Sister-in-law proceeds to talk loudly about them visiting her sister later on that day to go to a splash pad. Well, then sister-in-law starts acting like her stomach hurts from the pregnancy and mentions that she texted her sister saying she's not taking the kids there after all. Younger twin lost it. She started screaming and crying, growling and hitting her mother. My grandmother ushered sister-in-law away from the twin and into the house. Grandma told the twin she can come inside when she learns to behave. Told me and everyone else not to baby her. I go to sit with my husband and father, who are watching the other twin and brother swim while the first twin screams in the backyard. Suddenly, little brother is crying that he wants his mom, so we let him go inside, but Grandma says not to let the screaming twin inside until she calms down. She's trying to teach sister-in-law how to parent at this point. I ask the twin why she's screaming. "I want to go inside to Mommy." I tell her she needs to calm down first. Suddenly, her twin, the older, mature one, starts crying a genuinely deep-down sad cry. "I want sister to stop it," she says. I hug her and tell her, "We all do. It's okay, she will stop." Older twin sobs. "No, she won't. She will start throwing things. Nobody ever stops her." Eventually, sister-in-law comes out to bring the screaming twin inside, who then resists and says, "You're making it worse, Mommy." Sister-in-law takes her inside and whispers to her, "Do you want to go home?" At one point, my parents' neighbors bring their 2-year-old over. He cries because he wants to swing, but my nephew won't let him have a turn on the swing set. Sister-in-law doesn't do anything. We all yell at him to give the neighbor's toddler a turn, but we wait for sister-in-law to make him move. She doesn't. Later, he hits his oldest twin sister repeatedly in the chest and private part. My husband gets angry and picks him up to remove him from the pool. The day before, my nephew ran up with his fist cocked to punch my husband's private parts, but my husband stopped him. One time, my nephew locked us out of the house because he thought it was funny. The older twin was inside with him, and she bawled while he laughed. She told me a story about how, at their house, her brother kicked their bedroom door repeatedly to keep the twins stuck inside their room. One time, my sister-in-law almost ran over her son because my brother was on his phone on the couch, surfing the internet, and didn't notice him go outside. One time, my brother was home alone with his kids, but not watching them, and the younger twin peed in the plastic sink of their plastic play kitchen. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. There's something deeply wrong here. Later on, when they're leaving, my husband and I dress the girls and help put on their shoes. Sister-in-law chases her naked son around the yard while my grandma watches, concerned, mumbling, "No, no, don't chase your child." She gives up and sits down. My father dresses her son instead. We take the kids to the front where their rental van is, while the used van is in the shop. Sister-in-law doesn't follow. My dad has to go get her to tell her the kids are ready to leave. Please turn the car on for them to get in. She gives him an angry look, and I hear one child say, "Mommy, I thought we were eating here tonight." She assumed they'd get a free meal if she stayed long enough. They're on Medicaid. She just got her associates in a medical field, but this high-risk pregnancy will keep her from working. You'd think they'd know how birth control works after 3 unwanted pregnancies. The third one they miscarried in October. My parents, who live in the same town as sister-in-law and my brother, never visit their house because it's in ruins and the twins never have sheets on their mattress. One time, I went over there to find out that the older twin had slept on sheets with her brother's vomit piled at the foot of the bed. She told me her mommy said it's okay, as long as her feet didn't touch it. I was furious. The other twin didn't have sheets on her mattress. I searched the house. I had been asked to babysit, with the kids trailing at my feet, refusing to play, upset that I wanted to find their sheets so I could wash them. They said mommy would be mad because their aunt, thinks she's a bad mommy. I have to give her credit if she knows that without my telling her so. On this day, I also found week-old dirty diapers in the children's bedrooms, piles of unfolded laundry, and dog poop in the living room. My husband and myself are hurt by what we see. 3 beautiful children being ruined by bad parenting. The twins are going into kindergarten this week, but wet their beds every night. Their 4-year-old brother still isn't potty trained. They can't afford their children, yet they own 2 dogs who are locked in kennels all day, one of which almost bit my dad the one time we saw her out of her kennel. And they bought 2 hamsters recently. The kids told me how their dad threw one dog so hard against the wall once, the normally active dog didn't bark for a week. And I believe them, because my brother is crazy. Never smiles or laughs with my parents, husband or myself, hardly talks. My mom said he only calls her to ask her to babysit or lend him money. Meanwhile, she and I chat daily about our lives. Sister-in-law complains that he doesn't have goals. I'm surprised he hasn't left them, to be honest. He is just honestly that awful kind of a person. My parents paid for the kids' swimming lessons and dance lessons. They paid for a trip to Disney World. They paid moving expenses for the house they live in. My mom cleaned that house before they moved in because sister-in-law was too pregnant. This was their first pregnancy. My husband and I are fed up with my sister-in-law and brother. We recently had the twins visit us for a few days, and it was a blast, and they were much better behaved without their parents or brother. But I'm so worried. I feel guilty because we live 3 hours away. It is a shame when kids aren't raised well. But unfortunately, unless there is or neglect to the degree where the kids are in danger, this is the price that we pay for a free society. People are allowed to have kids and raise them badly, and there's not a whole hell of a lot that you can do about it. The animal and the dog poop and dirty diapers laying around the house might be sufficient to get CPS involved. But if your brother and sister-in-law can get the house clean, since there's no physical or drugs, it's unlikely they would be removed. You could monitor the situation closely and get them involved if you see any signs of I had a neglected niece, and the best thing you can do is to stay in their lives. You offer to watch them as much as possible. You expose them to a safe and nurturing environment. You develop a personal, loving relationship where they can get another perspective on the world.